Hey guys, in this video, I'm gonna give you my 7 precise tips and tricks so that you can become a top listing agent or salesperson very quickly in any industry. I'm 19 years old and I was able to grow a 6-figure plus business with these tips right over the phone. So the first and most important tip when selling over the phone is to completely change your mindset. I coach a lot of agents and their mindset going into a phone call is, how can I convince this person to work with me or convince this person to list with me? This is absolutely the worst mindset to have when calling a prospect. And there's no, you're just focusing on how I can get the listing, how I can get the commission. They don't care about any of that. What they care about typically, let's say with a for sale by owner, is I need to net a certain amount and I need to sell it in a certain time frame. So when you're communicating based on those, value propositions, it's a lot more of a smoother call and you're actually coming at a place of value. So it doesn't make the call so uncomfortable and awkward to make. It's actually quite pleasurable when you're trying to actually help somebody out, not convince them to work with you just to get a listing or a commission. Again, I just focus on what is the need, what is the motivation when I'm talking to a client. Typically for sale by owner or even expireds is they want to net a certain amount of money and they want it done in a certain time frame. So the whole call is oriented around those two things or whatever the value that they need to be had there. The whole call is oriented around that, what they need, not what I want or need, specifically what they need. So before calling anybody, figure out what is it that they actually want and structure your entire call around that. Now, in the link in the description below, I have all my scripts for expireds, for sale by owners, for rent by owners, anything you can imagine. It's in the link below. And you can see how each one of my scripts focuses on entirely what the client wants. So that's the first main thing. Completely change your mindset. Go into it thinking, how can I provide this person value? Not what you want, specifically what they want. Makes the calls a whole lot easier. The second tip ties into the first one. It's your value proposition. Always go into the call knowing your value proposition. What is it that you're actually bringing to the table to this call? You don't want to waste time when talking to clients. They get very annoyed, and a lot of agents have no idea what they're going into a call for. Their thought is, hey, I want a commission. You don't want to do that. So you need to have a clear value proposition, and more importantly, you need to clearly communicate that effectively and efficiently. They don't know you. They don't want to, they don't like a lot of agents start a call of, hey, how's it going? It sounds nice, but what's your value? That you're not talking to them about your day. They know immediately that you're a salesperson wanting something from them. But if you hop immediately in the call talking about what they want, how your value proposition can help them get to where they want, either quicker, better, faster, whatever it is, that is what you need to focus on when going into these calls, is your value proposition. The third tip, and this is my favorite one, is move on if there's no value to be had. When I coach a lot of agents and I hear them making these calls, they'll try to force, their value to be had. If they don't want to sell their home, they don't want to work with an agent, you can try to clearly communicate your value, but at the end of the day, if they don't want it or need it, move on. There's no benefit in talking to them. They get no benefit out of you, so you just simply move on. These makes your calls very efficient and a lot more pleasurable because you know your worth, you know your value, and if someone else doesn't see it, whether you didn't clearly communicate it, then work on that. But if they don't really want to work with you or they don't see the value in you, simply move on to the next, and you're just trying to fit the buy box of who's my client, who wants to work with me, how can I clearly communicate my value to this person. So plain and simple, if there's no value to be had, they see no benefit in working with you, and they just simply don't want to sell their home or they don't want to buy your product, move on, go to the next client, go to the next phone call. The fourth tip is asking the right questions and saying the right statements. Now, what does this mean? Plain and simple, using open-ended questions that's going to uncover their needs and pain points. A phenomenal book that has tenfolded my business is a book called Never Split the Difference by Chris Voss. If you're in sales or just want to, level up your communication, this is a must-read book. I read it about once every 3 months. It's an incredible book. You want to use questions that are going to get them talking to uncover their motivation. So, for an example, if I talk to an expired listing, I'm not going to say, hey, did this not sell because of price? That's a yes, no, conversation's done, very uncomfortable. I'm going to say something like, wow, this seems like a great house. How in the world did this house not sell when it was on the market? That's two totally different types of questions asking roughly the same thing, but the second question is going to get them to uncover a lot of information, a lot of needs and pain points where I can problem solve efficiently and effectively for them. That's what we're trying to do. Uncover their motivation, uncover the needs and pain points, and solve all of their problems. If you do that, you have a commission, you have a sale, and there's actual value to be had. We're not scam artists out here trying to convince people. I always go back to we are plain and simple trying to provide value to the client. So asking open-ended questions gets the client more comfortable to sharing what the needs and pain points are so that you can efficiently and effectively communicate your value to them. So again, use open-ended questions, use statements like it seems like, it sounds like, and this is going to get them talking a lot more so that you can actually help out the client very effectively. The fifth tip, and this is something I see many salespeople fall short of, is active listening and being comfortable with silence. This ties into, the fourth tip where you're asking the right questions. You're asking these open-ended questions. After that, you just want to shut up and listen. Be very active in your listening, taking notes as they're communicating, making sure you're picking up on all the little details, all the motivation, the pain points, everything in that conversation you want to pick up on. And you want to, gear the conversation to solving all those problems. But to do that, you have to be very active in your listening and be comfortable with silence. I see a lot of agents, they're very uncomfortable making calls or just salespeople in general. So they just start talking and talking and talking. They're not asking questions anymore. They're not comfortable in silence. Be okay with a couple seconds of silence. More than likely, the prospect over the phone is just going to fill that void and start giving you tons of information. Again, Chris Voss's book, Never Split the Difference, goes into how powerful just silence is and how difficult it really is to actively listen to somebody. Because when you're making a call, you want to be conscious of this, but you might be thinking of a million different things. You want to be very active in listening, picking up on all the motivation, all the pain points, and completely gearing the whole phone call to solving these problems for you or for them so that it's a valuable call to be had. The sixth tip, and this is something I see looked over all the time, is mirroring the prospect's voice and tonality. This does something psychologically when communicating to the prospect where it gives them a sense of familiarity and trust when communicating with you. This is huge, obviously, when you're on the phone trying to showcase your value, and it really helps the calls go a little bit smoother. I shouldn't say a little bit, much smoother and much better. So for an example, if you're on the phone with a prospect and they're talking really slow, really soft, you want to match that. You want to mirror that same slow pace, that soft pace. On the flip side, if they're talking super quick, super, to the point, bam, 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 you want to also mirror that and completely change how you're communicating to be very quick, very to the point, very fast pace. This is going to get the client, again, feeling more familiar with you. It really mirrors them, builds trust, and it helps the call go way better when you're communicating at their pace, at their level. The seventh tip, and maybe the most important one, is having a strong follow-up strategy when talking to the client. What I see a lot of salespeople do is they try to close the deal right then and there on the phone. This is just not realistic. Unless you're a Grant Cardone or a Gary Vaynerchuk in the business, and even then it's not that realistic to close the deal right then and there on the phone. I mean, think about it. They've never met you. They don't know you. You've had a 5-minute phone call with them, and you're expecting to get the listing or close a sale on the phone. It's just not realistic. So the goal of a phone call, again, going back to the previous tips, showcasing your value, clearly communicating it, building rapport, and just creating another reason to communicate with them. I'll set a lot of listing appointments on the initial phone call to meet face-to-face to see if it makes sense for us to work together, but I'm not closing the listing or closing the sale right then and there on the phone. It's all about building rapport, being in my case, the agent of choice. For your case, just being that person they call when they do want to buy something. That's the goal of the phone call. So having a strong follow-up strategy. This requires, for me, a CRM system. So a system where I put all of my leads in a database and I can set to-dos, follow-ups to have notes on them so I can know who I'm talking to, have a follow-up strategy, call them every other day, every day, weekly, monthly, whatever it is specific to the client. I have a very strong follow-up strategy for each and every single one. And I'm, in my case, as a realtor, trying to set a listing appointment, whether it be on the first call or 10 calls later, set a listing appointment, meet them face to face, build more rapport, give them more value so that I'm the person of choice when they do decide to list their home. This is true for all sales. You don't want to try to close on the phone. It makes you seem scammy, very hard sales, very pressuring tactics. It's not comfortable for anyone involved in the phone call. So again, have a very strong follow-up strategy. Focus on building rapport, showcasing your value. So these 7 tips are very simple yet highly effective. It's quite simple. You're showcasing your value in a clear and effective light. You're moving on if there's no value to be had. You're actively listening to the person on the other side of the phone. Very simple stuff. You're not trying to hard sell them or pressure them. No one likes to feel like they just got one-upped or convinced to sell. It's very organic, very natural. It'll make the calls a lot easier to make. You don't feel so scammy and gross when you're making the calls. I really do enjoy making these calls because I truly believe in my head that I'm helping the other person on the phone. I deserve the commission I made because I netted them more. I sold it in a timely manner. I gave them the best service that they could have gotten, through me. You want to have this mindset. You don't want to try to scam people in anything. That's not what sales is about. It's a beautiful business and it should be operated as such. If you guys like this video, I always appreciate a like and subscribe. In the description below, again, are all of my scripts. So if you're a real estate agent looking to grow your business, I have all my scripts there. My other videos showcase how to use these scripts effectively. But plain and simple, showcase your value and the rewards will come. Thanks for watching.